Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Ball and Chain. We're going to do something different today. We're going to split our videos into two. So we'll have one video focused around football and another video focused around crypto. That should hopefully make it easier for you guys to digest the content, keep the time of the video down to an absolute minimum, and mean that we can start to categorize videos. We'll still be delivering the same quality content in the same way. We'll just be splitting it into two videos rather than having it all in one to make it easier. You can select which one you're most interested in. You can watch both. You can watch the one you're most interested in. Hopefully that'll help make it a bit more digestible and a little bit easier for people to consume based on what they like and what they don't like. So we'll go with that today. So without further ado, let's grab a drink and let's crack on with today's very, very busy show because we've had a lot going on in the crypto market. It has been a roller coaster week, and we've also had a huge amount of football played over the week, and we've also got another weekend of exciting games to preview around the football. So lots fun packed show, lots of content. Grab yourself a drink and let's get to it. Hi everyone. Okay, let's make a start with reviewing the EFL Cup events of this week. Then we'll move on and review the UEFA competition that's taking place this week, and then we'll finish by previewing some of the fixtures that are happening across the English leagues today. Okay, let's make a start. Tuesday night, we had a series of fixtures for the EFL Cup. Some really interesting games, very tight games. Liverpool beating Southampton with a slightly weakened team, but Isak started. Ekitike came on, scored the winner, got sent off after 2 yellow cards. His second yellow card was taking his top off or his overshirt, his jersey off, as they scored the winner. I'm not sure how I feel about that one. A little bit unfair on him. But you know the rules. You do stuff like that, you're gonna get sent off, and that now means he's banned this weekend for a key fixture against Palace. So that naturally means Isak's likely to start. What do we think about that? What's your views on people getting yellow carded for their taking their shirts off after they score? In a high moments, it's a high intensity game, high pressure game. You draw in against Southampton and you get a late winner. I think there's got to be some common sense shown. But anyway, that's how it was. Wrexham beat Reading and set up a really key derby against Cardiff. So the next round, Wrexham will play Cardiff, which will be a really interesting game, won't it? But a good result for Wrexham. Good finish. Wolves, was it a surprising victory? I'm not sure against Everton, but they beat Everton 2-0. Not much fight back from Everton, but I think their focus clearly is on the league. Whereas Wolves, I think that will do them the world of good getting a win. Wickham beat Wigan 2-0. So they continue their resurgence, really. They had a difficult start to the season, but seem to be progressing well. Wigan, again, that's another defeat for them. Are they on a downward spiral? Let's see. Lincoln put up a great fight against Chelsea, but 2 moments, a great goal by Tyreek George gave Chelsea the winner, an equaliser. And then there was a second assist again by George, and a good finish to leave it at 2-1. And Lincoln, brave first half, took the lead, really outplayed Chelsea and really made Chelsea sit, but their quality came in the second half. Clearly Maresca laid into the team and they performed much better in the second half. Fulham got a tight but useful victory against Cambridge, who were playing well, so 2-1. Cardiff pulled off the shock of the night with a 2-1 victory against Burnley. Where does that leave Burnley? They had a severe late sort of youth team. They changed and made a lot of rotation in that team in preparation for their game against Manchester City today. So great result for Cardiff, which has set up a great derby game with Wrexham in the next round, which will be very interesting. And Brighton, quite frankly, hammered Barnsley 6-0. Great, I think Gomez got 4, so he's definitely one to watch and a very, very good performance from him, but a great result for Brighton. That sets them up nicely with their game against Chelsea today. Moving on to Wednesday's fixtures, Arsenal had quite a comfortable 2-0 victory against Port Vale. Same with Tottenham, 3-0 against Donny. Same with Newcastle, 4-1 against Bradford, and Man City cantered to a 2-0 victory against Huddersfield. So no shocks there. The prices were so bad for betting on as well. So pretty much, I had over 2.5 in them all. It was an offer, but I didn't put much on it. And unfortunately, I didn't come off because of City and Arsenal. But yeah, no, it's cup games, it's tight affair. That's how it is. So that summarises the results from the third round of the EFL Cup. No real shocks. Maybe Cardiff was the one shock. Just looking up and down, I think Cardiff and arguably Wolves, but not. It's cup. It's priorities and stuff. So I think no real shocks. And I think as you get into these later rounds, the third, fourth quarters, so you're going to get the bigger teams now starting to take it seriously. It's game time for them. It's an opportunity to get silverware in, and no big club's going to turn that down, even if it is the EFL Cup, which is slightly a poor man's FA Cup, if you will. But great results, and that summarises where we got to with EFL. So you bang up to date now with the EFL Cup. Europa League started the actual league phase now. The knockouts have completed. We're now into league. So this is all the teams in the new sort of setup. Champions League and Europa League have now gone into these big leagues where they throw everybody in, and then people have to go back and forth on that one. So let's summarise the results over the course of the week. I had some good wins and some bad wins in my accumulator. I had both teams to score one, and Feyenoord let me down. Now, I don't know if you watched the game or I followed it. It was 0-0 up until the 80th minute. I'm thinking this is out, but I tend not to cash out because football's a funny old game, especially with both teams to score. So Braga scored, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, one more goal and my acca's landed. Feyenoord scored in the 89th minute, and the referee went and bloody disallowed it, which cost me my acca landing. So my acca landed, and Midnight paused it, and I'm like, yes, where's my money? And then the referee rug pulled me, and I lost out there, which was incredibly disappointing. But a very good result for Braga, who were tipped. Celtic and Red Star played out a 1-1 draw. A lot of people tipping Celtic, but it's a tough place to go, Red Star. So a point square there. Betis and Nottingham Forest played out a really interesting 2-2 draw. Again, I had Celtic, I had Forest, I had Nice and Roma, I had Freiburg and Basel, all in my both teams to score, along with Sporting and Braga. So probably the one game that I probably shouldn't have had. I was toying with Dynamo and Fenerbahce as well, but didn't pick those. Wish I had now. But anyway, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I did have Freiburg to win another 2.5 goals, and I had both teams to score in Betis and Forest. And there was another one what landed for me as well. I think that was in the League Cup. And yeah, they landed when Chelsea went behind. Actually, I put Chelsea into an acca, and that acca came off. So I got a nice little in-play win. Just getting the feeling of the games and stuff, and then just put a bet on, and that came off. So it put me well in profit for the last couple of nights. So that's all good. Yep, Roma had a great result against Nice. They went 2-0 up, and Nice pulled one back via a penalty. Malmo lost to Lucrets. I think that was a great opportunity for them to get off to a positive start. They didn't. Freiburg beat Basel 2-1. Zagreb beat Fenerbahce 3-1. Dynamo Zagreb, very good team, got some good young players, and at home they're always strong. Polk and Maccabi played out 2-2, 0-0 draw, and Midtjylland beat Sturm Graz 2-0. So that sets up the league stage there. Then we had some more games on Thursday night. Some bigger clubs, well, equally big clubs entered. Young Boys, let me just get it on screen. Young Boys drew with Panathinaikos. Got beaten by Panathinaikos quite convincingly 4-1. I think that was a bit of a surprise. Nobody expected it to be that emphatic, but it was. Again, I had both teams to score, and it was the same old story. So Young Boys and Panathinaikos I had Stuttgart and Celta Vigo. I had Porto to win or draw. I had Rangers and Genk both teams to score, and I had Villa to win. That was my acca. Rangers not scoring. One goal once again let me down for a decent return. I think it was like 12-1. So yeah, absolutely gutted. But I'm agonisingly close every time, which I'll take. I'm winning and I'm missing out by one goal. So we are doing pretty well, and I'm going to share some predictions for bets as we get into the next phase, and you can see if you want to see how that goes. And I'm going to call them out now before the games so that I can gloat if I win, and I can commiserate if I lose. All right, so we'll carry on going through it. So Olympic Lyon got a great result away against Utrecht. Stuttgart beat Celta Vigo in a very tight but good game. Porto got a great result away against Salzburg. They weren't heavily tipped actually to beat Salzburg, so really great odds if you'd have had Porto to beat Salzburg. I went, because the odds were so high, I'm like, do they know something I don't? So I went double chance to be safe, because the odds were still pretty good on a double chance. But he could have gone draw no bet actually and probably got better odds. But anyway, it's academic as Rangers continue to disappoint. I don't know how long Russell Martin's got there, but I know he's under extreme pressure. Fans aren't happy. The guy keeps his job. They keep him with the man. We'll see if he can turn it around, but a very disappointing defeat to Genk. I mean, Genk are a good team, but not to get a goal at home in critical games like this, it don't bode well. And I think I'll be laying on Rangers next time they play. Even in the league, they're not doing great. So until they sack the manager or until there's a change in momentum or the manager, I think Rangers are definitely not the bet to have at the moment. First thing, Victoria Pleasant played out a 1-1 draw. Both teams to score was a good bet with that one. Villa beat Bologna, good result. Could that be a momentum shift for Villa? Could they take that? They play Fulham at home at the weekend. Could they take that and now get a result against Fulham? Will that mean that Villa are finally going to rise again? They've had a very difficult start to the season. Could that be a bit of a momentum shift? That getting back to that winning feeling, and could that ignite their season now? Let's see. What do we think? Tell me in the comments. Do you think Villa are back after getting that result? Is that more like the Villa we expected to see? Are we going to see them get a result against Fulham? They're at home again, so they've got a good run of home fixtures. Is that an opportunity now to start building that momentum and getting those results back? Lille beat Braun 2-1 and Steaua Bucharest beat Go Ahead Eagles 1-0. That summarises where we are. I'm not going to bother with the tables at the moment because I think it's too early days. We only had one game there, but that means you bang up to date with all the midweek fixtures. So let's go and cover the games that are happening this weekend plus some fixtures that happened on Friday. So let's go through and have a look at the fixtures for this week. So today's games in the Premier League, we'll start from the morning. We have Brentford in the early kickoff against Manchester United. Almiron's opportunity, they won against Chelsea. Does that now give them a real opportunity to start building again that momentum we speak about that's so important? Will Man U start to come back? Brentford showing a lot of fight and a lot of heart. Could this be their opportunity to maybe get a result? Now, historically, this fixture has had goals. So I've got a few bets on today. One of my bets is some early both teams to score at the 12:30 kickoffs. And I have had this as a both teams to score bet. Likewise, when Chelsea play Brighton, touch wood, have been pretty solid with a both teams to score bet this season. And I think they will continue that to say, I expect both teams to score in Chelsea against Brighton. It to be a highly entertaining game. Next fixture is Crystal Palace against Liverpool. This will be tight. I do think that Palace are a very good team. Glasner's a great coach. He's got them very well drilled at the back. That three at the back, Richards, Gay, and Lacroix seem very good. And really, he's got a consistent team that regularly play. With Mitchell on the left and Munoz on the right. I think that's such a strong defensive unit, but also those fullbacks power forward, those wing backs, and it does cause problems. Liverpool are, grinding out results without playing particularly well. Spoke to a few Liverpool fans who I saw over the week, and they're like, well, we're not playing bait, we're grinding out results, but that's the stuff of champions. And what keeps that championship form. But it'll be really interesting to see how Liverpool go on today. Obviously, Palace got the result in the FA Cup final. Are they going to continue that momentum? So this will be an interesting game. I think it's going to be really tight. I don't think there's going to be many goals. I might be completely wrong. I tell you what will happen, if there's an early goal, then there will be goals in that game over 2.5. If the longer it goes on, the more it's closer to 0-0. And, a late Liverpool winner has been the consistent script. So my tip would be, if it's 0-0 in up to the 80th minute, start to put some money on Liverpool because they are so good at getting a last minute winner. That would be my tip. Or if Palace score early, it'll be an interesting game then. Or Liverpool score early. I think both teams will have to come out, but I think it will be a really tight affair to start off with. Leeds against Bournemouth is an interesting one. Leeds at home are very strong. They've put up a lot of fight this season. Bournemouth are flying. I expect goals in this. I've not actually touched it in any Miakas, because you don't know how it's going to go. Newly promoted teams, I still think we're settling in to how good the newly promoted teams are going to be. If they're going to be, it's going to be the standard template where the newly promoted teams go down or not. So we'll see. I'm expecting goals, but I'm not sure. It's a tough one to call for me. Too early in the season to really be able to predict that one. We'll see. I've put Sameo in my team from Bournemouth in my FPL team. We'll see how he gets on today. Hoping he gets a goal. Man City against Burnley. This is a fixture, so I'm gonna confess I have triple captain Haaland today. So that means it's gonna be a frigging 0-0 draw. Tell you now. However, I have had a bet builder. Now, there's a couple of things that I've done in my research today. So, Manchester City, Rodri for Man City, scores the most goals against Burnley. It's that and Villa are the fixtures that he loves. So, a bit of a wide tip is 4-1 anytime scorer. Rodri might be worth a couple of quid for a goal today. I don't know. I've gone all in on Haaland. I've had a bet builder on this. I've had Manchester City to win. Obviously, over 2.5 goals, because historically they have got a great history against Burnley. Now, Burnley are so solid at the back, and Parker's got them playing well. My biggest fear is the longer it goes on, the more difficult it's going to be for City to break down. If City get an early goal, and I'm hoping Haaland does, then that will open Burnley up, and it will open the floodgates, hopefully, for Man City. And I say that not because I think ill of Burnley. It's only because I've triple captained Haaland, and I've got this booster that Haaland's going to get more than 2 goals. I'll put my money where my mouth is. Man City are going to get over 2.5 goals. Doku's going to get fouled at least once. City to win and Haaland to get at least 2 goals. That's the bet I've had. I've not put it on Rodri, even though that's that. I might, if I win something in the half 12s, I might have a 5 or a 10 on Rodri to score any time, just because these sort of data points, when you get these data points, like this historic thing, it's weird, you know what they say, history never repeats, but it rhymes. If you tend to find that if players score a lot of goals against a certain team, that pattern tends to continue. So we'll mark it now. I've said it before the game. Let's see if Rodri does score. That would be really interesting. The 5:30 kickoff is Forest against Sunderland. But interesting game. For me, that's both teams to score, actually. Sunderland are really, really going for it this season, and fair play to them. Forest played, on Wednesday and played out a 2-2 draw in Spain. But interesting to see what happens in this one. I'm expecting both teams to score. You never know with Forest this season and Ange coming in. Let's see. The late kick-off tonight, it's an exciting one, actually. It's Spurs against Wolves. Again, I'm expecting good things from Spurs. Wolves struggling. They got a great result, though, in the EFL Cup against Everton. Does that mean they're back on form? Could we see them confidence risen? And will that affect Spurs? Spurs are hit and miss, aren't they? Spurs are either amazing one week or terrible the next. Is Thomas Frank effect, though? If they beat Wolves, I think they'll be right up there in the table. So it's a real opportunity for Spurs to really lay a marker down today if they get that result. So let's see what happens. It's going to be interesting. But what do you think? I've given you some of my predictions. So I've had City to win. I've had City minus 1.5 on our European handicap. In this one, I've had both teams to score in Chelsea, Brighton, and I've also tipped both teams to score in Brentford and Man United. But what do you think? How do you think it's going to play out today? What do you think is going to happen? Let me know in the comments, and let's see after today how this all pans out. Exciting stuff. Let's now move down to the Championship. Just previewing last night's game, West Brom took an early lead against Leicester, and it wasn't until like the 92nd minute Leicester equalised. I don't think it was an Aka booster. I actually had both teams to score on this one, but unfortunately, Girona let me down and Espanyol let me down. I had both teams to score that, and they played a 0-0 draw out. But again, all my other selections came in. This was one of them, but very late. If they had landed off this one, I would have admitted I've been super lucky with that. But yeah, 1-1 draw played out between Leicester and West Brom, and I kind of expected that. That's not a surprising result for me. West Brom are a very good team. Leicester, good team. Good result. I think that's a good point for Leicester. And I think if you'd have given a point to West Brom before the game, they'd have probably taken it. However, after the game, I'm pretty sure they'll have been good. There's nothing worse than a last-minute equaliser as the team in front versus Leicester set the fans home. Probably felt like a win when you're that down for that long and you get a last-minute win. So that's where we are today. So let's have a look at the fixtures for today. The early kick-offs. We've got Coventry against Birmingham. For me, got to be both teams to score, surely, in that one. Swansea Millwall, I have not touched this one. It's so difficult to call. Millwall got a great result on Monday And let's see what happens with them and Swansea. Wrexham Derby, again, another tough one to call, but Wrexham are usually a great both teams to score, so I have got that. So I've got Man U, Coventry, Wrexham, and I've got somebody in League One, which I'll come to shortly. So they're the 12:30 kickoffs that are happening today. 3 o'clock kickoffs, we've got Charlton against Blackburn, Ipswich against Portsmouth, Oxford against beleaguered Sheffield United. Can they get their first win? It feels like a 6-pointer relegation match. Oh, dare I say it already. Preston and Bristol. Now, Preston have been on fantastic form and are really showing real strength under Paul Heckingbottom. What a manager. And Bristol City had a surprising defeat against Oxford. But actually, because I'm a United, I've been doing some research on Oxford team. They have signed some really, really good players. So maybe it's not so surprising that Oxford are doing so well and got a fantastic result away against Bristol City on Sunday, beating them 3-1. So that'll be a really competitive game today. I actually think both teams to score, and it doesn't happen very often with Preston, but I think Bristol have got a lot of attacking threat. I think they will have to come out and show a bit of bottle after that defeat at home, and they'll be keen to get back to winning ways. So I can see that being a score draw maybe. I can't Preston a tough beat to beat. So Sheffield Wednesday had a fantastic result, credit where it's due, away at Portsmouth the weekend. They play a resurgent, let's call it, QPR. They after their 7-1 beating by Coventry early in the season, they really seem to have stepped up and they're on a very good run of form. So I'm tipping them to beat Sheffield Wednesday today. At home, Wednesday look like they're struggling. I think if Wednesday don't get off to a good start, the fans will be on the back. However, after that win, that excellent win against Portsmouth, does that give them a bit of momentum now moving in to the next few games? One of the premium fixtures of the day is Southampton against Middlesbrough. Southampton aren't playing too great at the moment, are they? And they had a gruelling game in midweek against Liverpool. As we know, Middlesbrough are on fantastic form. So it looks like Middlesbrough to take the points today, but I think it'll be tight. I'm expecting like a 0-0 draw or 1-0 win for either team. Probably Middlesbrough. I think it's going to be tight. I think the Southampton are a bit like the Palace of the Championship. They can hold firm, and it'll be an interesting game. Similar with Stoke and Norwich. Norwich is usually my go-to both teams to score bet. However, Stoke are a strong team, a very strong team, and they may keep them out. It depends if Sargent plays or not. He's my tip. He's a great goal scorer at this level. Probably should be in the Premiership or playing at a higher level. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him in January. But Stoke against Norwich is the next game. And our final game of the day is in the Championship, is Watford against Hull City. Both teams struggling a little bit. Watford got beaten by Millwall. Hull's form hasn't been great, so we'll see how that plays out. Both teams will probably go for it, so I am expecting both teams to score, but we'll see. Who knows? It's a bit of a lottery game, so I'm not really touching that one. So my tips for this one, rightly or wrongly, are the early kickoffs, both teams to score in Coventry, Birmingham. Likewise, Wrexham, Derby County. In the 3 o'clocks, I've gone for Preston, Bristol, both to score. And then QPR to beat Sheffield Wednesday. Not touching Sheffield United today at all. Okay, let's go to League One and look at today's fixtures in League One. The early kickoff is AFC Wimbledon against Wycombe Wanderers. And I've had, again, both teams to score in that one. Wycombe playing well, but they played in midweek. AFC Wimbledon at home are pretty good at scoring. Not saying who's going to win, because I think that's a really tough one to call, but I do expect both teams to score. Leyton Orient Stevenage also kick off at 12:30. Then at the 3 o'clocks, we've got Barnsley against Port Vale. Bradford against Blackpool. Can Bradford come back from that 4-1 defeat against Newcastle and get back to winning ways against what has been a bit of a resurgent Blackpool? So that'll be an interesting game. I am expecting Bradford to win, though. They are very strong at home. Their home form has been phenomenal this season, and I expect them to get back to winning ways. Plymouth were resurgent but struggled again. They got beaten by Peterborough, so that'll be an interesting game against Burton. Exeter against Huddersfield will be an interesting game as well. Exeter are very good at home. Huddersfield need to bring the form back up. Tipping both teams to score in that one. Luton Doncaster, both very hit and miss teams, both capable of scoring lots of goals on the day, so I've got both teams to score on that one. Mansfield Rotherham, I think, will be a very tight game. Similar with Northampton Bolton. Bolton are resurgent, playing very well, got an excellent result, a 4-0 win against Wigan last time out, so it'll be really interesting to see if they can continue their good form. Peterborough, again, in need of results, definitely. Got a good result against Plymouth last week, and now look to take on a very strong Lincoln City team who put on a fantastic performance against Chelsea. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Stockport Reading, for me, that's the probably most nailed, both teams to score one. Stockport have a great goals for and against that sings really nicely for both teams to score. So I've actually had that one as well. I've had like an 8-fold both teams to score at the 3 o'clock ones, and I've had 3 games from League One and League Two, coupled with Preston and Bristol City and Chelsea Brighton. So that's I'll tell you the other ones, but the 3 that I'm picking out for this 3 o'clock are Exeter and Huddersfield, Luton and Doncaster, and Stockport and Reading. And then I've had a win acca with Cardiff. Now Cardiff have got great odds away against Wigan. Is that because they've had all the energy sapped out of them because they got their win at Burnley? I actually think they've got good momentum. They're playing very well, and Wigan are struggling at the moment, and that's why I've gone with Cardiff to win today, as well as Bradford are my 2 wins for this one as well. Okay, that is League 1 covered. Let's go into League 2 now. So, again, early kickoff, Crewe and Notts County. I haven't actually touched these ones. No, I've not touched this one. Crewe and Notts County, for me, that's a both teams to score. Oldham and Barnet, probably both teams to score as well. I think there's going to be goals in all those games, actually. There's some really great both teams to score fixtures, which is why I've gone on pretty much a both teams to score rampage. I've had an 8-fold today, and I don't typically like that. I like a 4 or a 5-fold. I think there's more chance of winning there. But I have gone 8 because there's such juicy fixtures. Someone's going to let me down in that, though, isn't it? 8 is a very dangerous amount. It's too many, really. But I'll tell you the ones I've got anyway, and you can tell me whether you think I'm losing it or whether I've got a good chance, or I'll let you know because you'll probably hear me chanting and shouting if it does come in, because it's worth about 800 quid off a tenner, so not bad at all. Accrington, Walsall. Walsall have been on very good form, but it's a tough game away at Accrington. Bristol, Salford. Salford on good form, so are Bristol. This has got to be both teams to score. I will be massively shocked if it's not. Chesterfield against a beleaguered Newport. Chesterfield odds on favourite to win. The hit and miss though, Chesterfield. I don't like putting my money on them because they always seem to let me down. But they are heavily tipped to beat Newport today. However, if you remember, Newport were at home to Gillingham and took an early lead against Gillingham. Gillingham did eventually fight back and win 3-1. However, Newport did start very strongly, so it'd be interesting to see how this game goes. Crawley play Barrow. Fleetwood against Colchester. Top of the table, Gillingham take on Harrogate. That's my tip for this week for a win one. Gillingham to beat Harrogate. Grimsby take on a beleaguered Cheltenham. So again, Grimsby are my tip to win. So Gillingham and Grimsby would be my win tips, and I've gone into a win acca for me. Then Shrewsbury against Milton Keynes Dons. Now Milton Keynes Dons started very well, but they have really struggled in the latter part of this of late, and therefore I'm not calling that one. Shrewsbury are really struggling, and if you want an outside tip, it probably would be MK Dons to beat Shrewsbury. That's a very dangerous one. We got Swindon playing Bromley, and again these guys love to score, so that's a both teams to score one. Likewise, Tranmere and Cambridge is a both teams to score. So just to go back through that, we have got Swindon and Bromley, Tranmere and Cambridge, and Bristol Rovers and Salford as my both teams to score tips for this one. The win would be Gillingham because they're just on fantastic form, and Grimsby just because Cheltenham are really struggling. They're my picks for this league. So let's summarise the ACCAs for today. So the 12:30 kickoffs, we're going to go with Man United, Brentford. We're going to go with Coventry, Birmingham, Wrexham, Derby, and then we're going to go with back to AFC Wimbledon, Wickham. That is a nice little 4-fold. 12:30 kickoff. If that comes off, I might pile some more money into some other things and take some profits along the way. You got to do that. Just split it. And then my 3 o'clock kickoffs. Let's go with some of the tips I've got. So a couple I've got here. So we'll go for the both teams to score racker first, which is Chelsea, Brighton in the Prem. We've got Preston, Bristol in the Championship. That's one that I'm pretty confident on, but I'm least confident of all of them. In League 1, we're going with Exeter, Huddersfield, Stockport and Reading, and we're also going with Luton and Donny. And then in League 2, we are going both teams to score for Bristol Rovers against Salford, Swindon against Bromley, and Tranmere against Cambridge. That is an 8-fold both teams to score bet. Very, very risky. huge amounts. But if you look at the data, it does support it. So my formula, it typically works. We'll see. I've won for the last 2 weeks. So can we have third time a charm and a big third time a charm? It's a big gamble though. It's a lot there. I feel a bit uncomfortable with it. But let's see. Make it interesting. Make the afternoon really interesting. Okay, in my Winacker, there can only be one, and that's Man City to beat Burnley. If you want to be, I've tried to get -1 or -2 to bring the odds up a little bit, because I do think the history is on Man City's side. My side little tip and historic stat-based data one is Rodri to score anytime, although I am praying that Haaland gets a bagful today. Otherwise, I've just wasted one of my biggest tokens in FPL this week. So yeah, Haaland triple captain this week. Maybe I shouldn't be calling that out. Okay, and then the next win one I've got is QPR against Wednesday. They're going to do me, aren't they, here? QPR are going to struggle. We'll see. QPR on good form, though, at the moment, and Wednesday at home aren't great at all, so we'll see what happens there. The other one that I'm looking at after Portsmouth's defeat is Ipswich to win. They played very well last time at home against Sheffield United, got a massive win. Portsmouth got, I don't know, embarrassed against Sheffield Wednesday, is that right? After a draw against Southampton. So we'll see. That could be another one to keep an eye on, Ipswich beating Portsmouth, but we'll see about that one. I'm not tipping that at all and not thinking about that. Championship's quite evenly matched today, so I've not touched many games. Normally I like the Championship, but the fixtures just haven't rolled pretty well for any bets really for me. So the win ones in League One, I have gone with Bradford at home, are supremely strong. Blackpool been hit and miss, so I've gone with Bradford. And then Cardiff are on amazing form, but their odds are it's like 6-4. I'm surprised at that. But anyway, Wigan played so poorly against Bolton that I've just gone with Cardiff to win. And it's bumped my odds up really nicely. So yeah, Cardiff and Bradford in League One. And then in League Two, I've gone with the favourites, Gillingham and Grimsby, to also win. So that gives you a sixfold of Grimsby, Gillingham, of Bradford, Cardiff, of QPR, and then Man City, or if you want to be ambitious, Man City -1 or 2. That's the Winacker. And then I've done a couple of ones that I'm mixtures of those. So that's my bets for today. Really healthy odds on those as well, especially if you go -1 or 2 on Man City, can really bump it up to like 12-1 or something like that. So decent odds are available today if you can look for it and find them. We'll see how we get on, but that's giving you an up and down list of all the matches that have been played this week and a real healthy preview of everything that's happening this weekend. Good luck to you and your team this weekend. I hope you get the result you're looking for, and also if you are having a punt on the football, I hope you win, and I hope your results come in, as do I for mine. And if you are FPLing and you are very brave like me and playing your triple captain, let's have fingers crossed for Haaland. No offence to Burnley fans, but come on City and come on Haaland this week. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next video.